Okay, so I think we're all set to go. We're on the hour. So first of all, welcome everyone to today's webinar. This is our last webinar of 2024. And with tradition, we're going to have a panel discussion around predictions for 2025 around quality assurance and AI. So my name is David McGill. I'm part of the marketing team here at Scorbody. I'm going to facilitate this session today. I'm going to hand you over to James very shortly, who's going to discuss and introduce the panel of our speakers today. So you may have heard me mentioning at the start there that we're seem to be having some challenges with our panel videos. So the webcams doesn't seem to be working, similar to our last reused GoToWebinar. So there seems to be some challenge, but nevertheless, we'll continue on the conversation. So I just have a couple of slides to get through before I hand you over to James. Firstly, we always like to give the audience breakdown, and I know some folks are interested in learning this. So we've well over 250 people registered for the webinar today. So just to give you a breakdown, so we have almost 40% of those registering from the US and another 20% from the UK. And the rest then is split. The other bulk of folks there you see is through Ireland, India, South Africa, Canada, lots of other regions around Europe and the world as well. So welcome everyone. Secondly, industries. So yeah, our typical industry that we see. So majority there would be from the tech industry, and then we have financial services, almost 20%, retail, healthcare, telecommunications, and the list goes on and on. So again, nice to see who is registered and who's interested in the webinars and this type of content. So what are we going to discuss today? So let me just go through this agenda. So we have 4 key topics that we're going to discuss, and each of those topics we're going to look for your participation. So we have some polls that we're going to run before each of these topics. So firstly, about the role of AI in hyper-personalization and also emotional analytics. And then looking at enhancing collaboration. So that's another key one that we've seen a lot on. And then moving on to the third topic is around innovative approaches to motivating and upskilling your agents. And then the last one, which is always the most interesting one, and this is where it'll be interesting to see what the panel have to say, is looking ahead. So what are the predictions that they see for the next year? So looking forward to that one. And then, as with any of our webinars, we have time throughout, probably about 10 minutes, hopefully at the end, for any questions. So as you come across any questions that you'd like to ask the panel, feel free to post them, and we'll hopefully get through as many of them as possible. So moving on then. So James, I'd like to hand it over to you, and if you want to take us from here, please.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much, David, and welcome everyone to Scorebody's final webinar of the year. Before we get started, let me introduce myself to start with, and also our esteemed panel that will be chairing us through the topics that David covered. I myself, my name is James Boyle. I'm the new business team lead here at Scorebody. And rather than me giving introductions, I'd like to invite our panel to introduce themselves. So Wilson, if you could start us off, please.
Absolutely, James, and greetings to everyone across the globe. I'm actually sitting in Southern California, a cloudy day in Los Angeles. As James indicated, my name is Wilson Nieves. I'm Customer Experience Officer at Observable Services. We're a boutique customer experience management and contact center optimization consultancy. We work with a number of emerging e-commerce brands, really building out their CX strategies and optimizing their contact center.
Brilliant,
Thanks.
brilliant. Thank you for that, Wilson. And Stacey, if you could do the same, please.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So like Wilson, it is a rainy, gloomy day in Dallas, Texas as well. So that's where I'm calling in from. And I am a call center operator. I have been my entire career, so over 25 years in the contact center space, large and small, all back channels, inbound, outbound, and most recently a video chat center, which was very cool. And I've worked for large companies like Home Depot and Equifax, and I'm currently working with ID.me, which is a rapidly growing startup in digital identity. So I'll tell you more about that and some of these topics because it fits in very well with the topics for today.
Great to hear. Great to hear. Thank you, Stacey. And last but very not least, Nate, if you could introduce yourself for the attendees today,
For
please.
sure. My pleasure. And thank you so much, James. Yeah, Nate here. Thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me from Nashville, Tennessee. If you hear some noise coming through the wall here, it's not a honky tonk. My neighbor's having their roof done. So I apologize in advance. It is a beautiful day in Nashville, Tennessee. And I'm a lover of all things customer experience. I've been a student of this work for some time. Came up through UL, major safety science companies, a frontline customer service rep, did that job forever, loved that job. Eventually took ownership of that team and kind of moved from more of a reactive customer service model to more of a proactive customer experience model, and have been helping organizations do that ever since. I'm the founder of a nonprofit community called CX Accelerator, and also work as the head of CX advisory for an independent research and advisory firm called Metric Sherpa, started by Justin Robbins. So thank you so much for having me.
No problem at all. Thank you to all three of you so much for joining us today. I think everyone will agree that we could not have a better panel to wrap up our webinar series for the year. So thank you all so much for joining us for today's webinar. And we are thrilled to have every single one of you who has joined today with us as we journey on this sleigh ride through the cutting edge trends and innovations that set to shape the future of customer experience. And in the ever evolving world of customer experience, staying ahead of the curve is crucial. And today we'll delve into topics related to the role of AI in hyper-personalization, in innovative approaches to agent training, and the exciting potential of this new world of human and AI collaboration. And then, of course, as David mentioned, we'll wrap up with the predictions from our expert panel for what 2025 has in store for customer experience. So without further ado, we're going to get started. And as David mentioned at the top of the call, our first topic is the role of AI in hyper-personalization and emotional analytics. So before we get started and get views from our expert panel, David is going to open up a poll. David, if you want to give some details on that, please.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, everyone. Great introduction. So yeah, we're going to launch a poll. So we'll do a poll ahead of each topic. So please, I'll launch it now to walk you through this. So everyone should have a poll on the screen. So, and I'll read you through what the question is. So question to you is, where will AI-driven hyper-personalization have the biggest impact? So there's 4 potential answers. So it's hopefully the panel can see what I'm seeing. We can see all the answers coming in. So great. Tailor recommendations. So it seems to be taken the maybe not. Emotional prediction, personalized journeys, or automated resolutions. So wow, it's an interesting one. So I see only nearly 50% of people have voted. So please, if you can just give your attention to that, and I'll ask the panel to give their input on this. So what I'll do is I'll give it another. See, people's votes still coming in, slowing down a little bit now. Very tight, actually, I must say. Okay, it looks like maybe we're just there. We'll give it another 5 seconds. I'll end the poll and then I'll share the results. Okay, it looks like we're there. Okay, that's it. So gonna end and share. Okay, so yeah, so 26% for tailored recommendations, 18 for emotional prediction, 29 for personalized journeys, and 26 again for automated resolution. So clear winner, but very tight. So again, I'll open it up to the panel. Any surprises? Is this in line with what your thinking is? Love to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I'll kick that off. I shouldn't have voted, but I did. I voted personalized journeys. So that's my personal favorite. And I always think back to the classic wisdom of building a story brand. We're not the hero of the story. What are we? We're the guide. So how can we be a more effective guide? And in the past, we've had a lot of assumptions baked into this work. We assume that the customer knows the right question to ask when often they don't. We assume that we know where the customer has come from in terms of the friction point that caused them to engage with customer service. But AI has brought us a lot of good information that has busted a hole in those assumptions. And it allows us to be a far more effective guide in terms of knowing where is the customer actually trying to go, and how can we fill in the gaps when they don't know the right questions to ask, when they don't know the next step that they need to take. We can really come alongside them in a very proactive way. I am surprised that emotion prediction was so low. And I've done a lot of work with that recently with a team where, they were speaking in a particular brand voice. It was a very distinctive brand voice, and they thought they were invoking a type of emotion. They were wrong. And as soon as we turned on the AI capability to really be able to show that sentiment, the emotion sentiment on these interactions, we could see, wow, we need to change the nature of our interactions significantly so that we can help these folks to connect better over the telephone.
And Nate, if I
Yeah.
if I may just piggyback on that, because I too am surprised that emotion prediction is so low. Well, it's not terribly low, but it's lower than the other four. And it's one of the things that I think that we're going to start to hone in on is how do we predict based on emotional cues what the appropriate responses are, and how do we, as you mentioned, Nate, help the customer continue on their experience journey with the brand. So for me, I think that's the area where really being able to detect emotions real time and provide that feedback to those individuals that are guiding that experience. I think it's going to be critical.
Yeah, definitely. It's an area, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it in terms of that area of emotional predictions. Do you feel this is a new area in such that we're looking at with AI now? In that AI is still quite new. We were more looking at it from an ABC type scenario, and that it will cover off areas such as compliance. So, but we're now seeing that it can lend itself to more complex areas, such as detecting emotions during a customer interaction.
Yeah, James, what I would say to that is I think the industry has done a relatively good job in building out the technologies that enable brands to detect sentiment. Right? We do
Yeah,
that often in post-interaction surveys and feedback that we would get from our customers. I think the next step, and this is where I think the emotional prediction goes in, is using that intelligence real time at the moment, so you can really guide. In this case, I'm thinking about the contact center agent. Really guide that agent onto, based on the emotional cues, what's next? What should I be
yeah,
offering? What should I be sharing with that customer?
yeah,
Great.
yeah. Couldn't
Great.
agree more, Wilson.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for the input. So yeah, looking forward to the next one. So I'll close that poll and I'll leave it over to you, James, then to continue on. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, David. And Nate Wilson, thank you so much for your input on that. And before we move on to, I guess, looking at the topic is more of a general sense. Stacey, would you like to come in on that at all in terms of that area of the poll results around the low score for emotional predictions, or even the high score for personalized journeys?
Yeah, so I was the other one who probably shouldn't have voted, but I voted for personalized journeys. So I that for me is really relevant for me at this very moment working for IDMe, because IDMe is digital identity. So just 10 seconds on IDMe. It was founded on a military veteran who was trying to access his military benefits in the retail environment, and felt like he was sharing too much of his PII information. And so he founded this company on how do I validate that I am a veteran and then pass those credentials on. So that is all about, do you know who I am, right? And I
Yeah,
know you self asserted that you are a veteran. Now, when I interact with you, I know you're a veteran, right? So that then cascaded to a more high security identification of you as a person. So now I know you are Stacey Parrish, and Stacey Parrish is trying to access the IRS to download her tax returns, right? So with this day and age, we have 130 million just at ID Me self-asserted identities where folks are volunteering who they are. I am a teacher. I am a veteran. I am a first responder. And I'm going through a life event. I am doing my taxes. I am filing for unemployment. Like, we now get all of this very rich details about who this person is in their journey that we almost expect now as just consumers, that who we are, right? So you got
Yeah.
your Alexa and whatnot, or recommending Oreo cookies because they know you love it. You almost expect that in your personalized journey. Now I'm a nurse, so if my journey is customized, it's even that much more enriching. And we have customers, like retail consumers, who are recognizing that and are using that in their own personalized journeys, whether that's email or when you land at their web page. A great example of that is Chick-fil-A. So if you haven't been on your Chick-fil-A app lately, you can self-assert that you are a teacher or a first responder. And Chick-fil-A will say, hey, it's back to school. I know you're a teacher. I would like to invite you to come in for a discount, right? And so that personalized journey is just going to continue to evolve and enrich like all of our interactions, both in service and in sales. Double stuffed Oreos. Double stuffed are my fave.
Just a hint there for anybody who wants to send any gifts Stacey's way. Double stuffed Oreos or Chick-fil-A
I always
vouchers.
tease when folks are like, well, I don't want Alexa to listen to me. I'm like, well, if she knows that she can auto send me Oreo cookies, I will be a happy camper.
Right, well, look, Stacey, it's such an interesting insight that you've given. I guess, well, what are your thoughts to three of our expert panel here in terms of how do you see that link in terms of, like, we're discussing personalized journeys, and the other area that stood out to us really was the emotional acceleration that can happen now with the introduction of AI journeys through customer experience. Do you feel that that is an area where there's a huge intersection, where there's a huge crossover in how they could run in parallel to one another?
Yeah, I think I have a view that it's not necessarily at like the agent desktop perspective. It is more around when you have this rich data, and I know you are a first responder, and I know it is COVID, right, and it is high stress for our first responders and nurses during that period of time. How the communications change to when you're directing to those individuals, that is evolving, right? And so I really see that being the next phase of emotional connection when you're going through unemployment, and that's stressful, right? And so how can now we connect with you and offer you benefits and services, or when you land at the agent's desktop, recognize that you're coming through for this high emotional life event, and then I'm catering to that emotionally. I'm very understanding and recognize that this is not I'm not buying a new car. I'm in a stressful life event, right? And you want your agent to be aware of that.
Yeah, of course, of course. I got such interesting insights in that area of hyper personalization and emotion analytics. It's an area that I feel we could speak about for a long time. There's a lot we want to cover on today's call. And I guess what I wanted to move on to was a second area, which really is a follow on from what we discussed in terms of in as that Dave mentioned, enhancing collaboration by augmented analytics and gamification. As AI continues to evolve, its role in supporting the human teams becomes increasingly significant. So we really want to explore how that human and AI collaboration can elevate performance, how it can lead to innovative training methods like gamification, and how that can lead to boosted agent engagement, targeted coaching, and effectiveness really in terms of performance. Um, Now, before we get into hearing your own thoughts on these exciting developments and how they shape the future in customer experience, David, you wanted to release a poll on this as well to our attendees.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, James. Yeah, so just going to launch a poll there. Should be on your screens. So this question, second poll, 4, which approach will most improve collaboration in contact centers? So again, 4 answers. I can see the votes coming already. So augmented analytics tools, gamified team challenges. Third option you have is real-time collaboration platforms. And fourth is AI-driven coaching assistance. So again, it's great to see the live view of this. Okay, Nate, you voted again. You couldn't help yourself. You can tell us which one you voted in a
I
second.
just
So
have to.
yeah, and this one is slightly different, so we can see. Thanks, Stacey. I feel I must vote myself now, but I don't have the option for some strange reason. Yeah, this one is a clear winner here, as we can see. So yeah, 60% of people voted. We had 65. Let's try and hit that 70%. So if you're active there and um, give it a whirl there. So we give it another slow down there now. So another 5 seconds or so. This is our last chance to get your vote in. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Done. Okay. So 68% of people voted. And yeah, clear winner in terms of real-time collaboration platforms. So again, over to the panel for any feedback. Nate, what did you vote on this time?
Yes, thank you. I I did do real-time collaboration platforms. Fascinating result here. Yeah, I thought the gamified team challenges would be much higher. I wonder if what's happened there is if many customer service leaders have tried some form of gamification, but maybe put too much of an emphasis on competition instead of collaboration with that gamification, which is really critical, especially if we think about a customer service environment. We're trying to create an environment where people are helping one another, peer-to-peer assistance. And so the more that we gamify in a competitive way, we kind of tear down that behavior, and we alter that psychology that we're trying to build up. So gamification can really help, but you got to keep it on a team level and keep the focus on the collaboration behaviors. I love real-time collaboration platforms, and I love it especially in the area of knowledge management when we're morphing these agents to do customer service at scale, where they are curating knowledge for each other. They're being generous with knowledge as they learn through every customer interaction. They're getting smarter, and they're helping to make the entire team smarter. So excited to see that response.
You know what? I'll chime in here if it's okay, James, and
Yeah, of
say
course.
that
Love to hear. Yeah.
I too am super excited about the collaboration platforms and the on-roads of leveraging AI to really enhance the work that teams do. Being a person that's built teams in the past, can't overstate the importance of that. Um, One of the areas that I'm beginning to see kind of some movement in is the AI really kind of being a silent participant in some of these collaboration efforts, and then identifying opportunities for efficiencies within the team dynamic and inclusivity. Oftentimes, at least in my experience, in a team environment, you got a handful of people who are really driving the kind of overall team dynamic. And what some of the AI use cases that I've seen in recent months is really using that to make sure that everyone in the team has a voice. And so the AI is able to kind of predict based on participation and communication patterns. Um, how do we drive that a little more? And again, build that cohesive team environment.
Yeah, I would love to chime in from a different perspective. Um,
Yeah, of course.
I voted for augmented analytic tools. And so I feel like this situation, I'm going to show my age on this one. I was like a BlackBerry holdout. I would not switch to an iPhone. I was on this BlackBerry forever, and I'm like, it was all the buzz, and I'm like, finally, I was forced to switch to an iPhone, and I'm like, where have you been all my life? I love you, iPhone. That's how I feel about like ChatGPT and AI. Like it's the buzz, it's kind of overwhelming. It's like, what do I do with this? And I just switched over to it this year and I am totally geeking out. I'm like, where have you been all my life? So
Yeah.
I'm using these tools in the contact center space by taking like QA data and coaching comments and performance data,
Mhm.
um, cohorts on new hires and locations. I mean, I just like I have all these random files. I am like dumping these random files into a chat GPT that we have available in our space, in our secure space, and it spits out for me the most customized coaching remediation plans that you can ever imagine. Like it's great. Like it's individualized. I have individual people. It's like this class of 20 people. I can individually give to the trainer while they're in nesting. Here's what is custom for each of these 20 people. And it, no lie, takes me 5 minutes to dump all these documents in there and then produce it. Now, don't tell anybody that because they think I worked really hard on this. And it looks fantastic, but I'm totally geeking out about that in my space.
Stacy, I'm super excited that you mentioned this. Two things that you made mention in what you just said and shared with the group, and is with AI, the ability for non-technical people to engage with the data that we have, right? And there's tons and tons of data, and it usually requires a data scientist to kind of make sense of it. With some of the use cases that I'm seeing now, um, I'm seeing laymen like myself who can talk, and literally in a demo a few weeks ago, the presenter from a tech startup company said, we built this in so that the end user can talk to the data, literally have a conversation with the data, which to me was
Wow.
intriguing and compelling to no end. Um, so I agree. Augmented analytics and leveraging the power of AI is going to empower the entire organization, but certainly those that are most interested in that data is going to empower those individuals to really get at the data, ask questions in layman terms, and really understand kind of what the data tells us. And the other area that I think is quite we're going to see some growth in and some traction is around creating, as you alluded to, Stacy, customized learning plans for agents. And so we'll build out these learning management solutions. We'll build out all the content that we think we need. The AI based on Wilson's gaps of knowledge, Wilson's interaction with customers would curate and create a highly customized learning path for me. And I think that's super cool in the for the contact center folks.
Yeah, I love that, Wilson. I had a unique opportunity 4 weeks ago. I came in and started working with a contact center that had just turned on AI-driven coaching assist. And so I got to see it from the agent's perspective as they were reacting and responding to it. And the amazing thing was the curiosity that it invoked, because it
Mm.
was a whole new type of coaching that they were getting that they had never had before. They were getting coaching from their supervisor, which was great, but this was providing a level of detail as far as how their interactions could be even better that they had never seen before. And it made them excited. And I was excited to see their excitement because, you always think about the agents are going to hate this. They don't
Mhm.
want this information. They don't want something staring at them from an automated standpoint, grading their interactions. I don't think that anymore. Like they do want this guidance, and it makes me think of the proverb, there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors. What you're gifting them is another valuable perspective on how they can continue to improve. And that should be exciting for them.
It's incredibly interesting to hear, I guess, the what you've seen on the ground in terms of how AI has embedded down with companies in terms of its a it's been well adapted, in even as you mentioned, Nate, there with the agents themselves, and that even when it's an AI functionality giving coaching prompts and guides towards the agents, that they're quite open and curious to work with that. And it's great to hear that there's an open-mindedness to run in this new world as such, and know that there's an investment into improvement at a business and at even an individual level as well. And really, it blends quite nicely into the third topic we wanted to cover as part of the call today, as part of the session today, which was, and what you guys have touched on really nicely in terms of some of the examples you've given there, the innovative approaches to motivating and upskilling contact center agents with the use of AI, and how these AI-driven strategies are transforming training and development plans, and to your point, Nate, creating immersive experiences that boost engagement and enhance performance. So David, I believe you're going to release a poll on this topic as well, which would be great. And even while there's votes coming in, I'd love to get further thoughts on this area, and maybe starting with yourself, Stacey, in terms of how AI is allowing us to be more innovative in engaging and upskilling staff.
Great. So while Stacey's getting our thoughts together there to kick us off, I'll just walk through the question here. So third poll, what's the most effective way to upskill and motivate your agents? So I know from some of the previous webinars that we've run, this should be a really popular one, and hopefully we get some great insights into that. First option is gamified training programs. Two is AI-driven personalized coaching, which we've actually covered recently at an event. Three is flexible learning platforms, and four is recognition and reward systems. So if you can get your votes in there. And Stacey, maybe you can kick off with any thoughts you have around this one, and then we can look at the poll results.
Yeah, this was an interesting topic for me because I am looking forward to seeing what AI is going to do into this space. And so I have not seen it overtaxed yet in my experience. So I don't have a lot to pull from as far as how it's being used today. So I'm hoping to learn a little bit. But where I wanted to spend a little bit of time like talking about, I'm seeing an evolving gamification like in your actual learning modules, the new hire training, the required learning that is coming. It's becoming much more interactive. You're getting that immediate feedback. You're using AI to kind of guide through that learning platform, which is amazing. It takes a lot to start switching some of those content into that space. And there's a lot of great talent and software that's come in through that's doing that. So it's really exciting to see it evolve. However, when I heard this question and read this question in advance, I was thinking about the flexible learning platforms and rewards and recognitions part of this question. And some of the things that I've seen work really well is one, use your AI to generate those customized remedial training programs. But more importantly, is your university, your library of learning available to everyone? Like that, to me, that is like the first start of encouraging upskilling, right? Like how are we going to get people to like self-motivate to upskill their skill set? And so first you got to make it available. You have to decide as a company how much time you're going to give individuals paid to go through these programs, and are you going to allow them to do it self-paced in an unpaid environment? Do they have access at home to your library so that they can upskill themselves? And so a lot of times that makes a big difference, and I've seen it differently in different organizations. If you have the benefit of opening it up, then you start getting that gamification in there. How are you progressing on a certain path for a certification, celebrating that certification, presenting options using your AI, like individuals like you also take these classes. Individuals in this role also are on these learning paths, like just similar AI that we see in like Amazon, right? Like people who also bought this bought X and Y as well, right? So presenting that in the AI will also, in that learning space, encourage folks to keep motivating. Like, where am I? What are others doing in that space? Um, Lastly, on this, actually, I got two last comments. One, I've seen really great progress when you have also paired a program where you can reward. But in this case, it was Bravo points, right? So at Equifax, as a specific example, if you're progressing through these learning programs as you're getting certified, you will be rewarded with these Equifax like Bravo points, and Bravo is a common loyalty platform that organizations use, that you could then trade those points in for merchandise, right? That would drive some self-motivation. And then lastly, it's your own culture, right? And so in one organization, we created an employee engagement committee, but it was wrapped around the organization being a great place to work, a great place to give, and a great place to learn. And that learning aspect was where that team was driving development with their peer group. What does the peer team like to learn about? Is it resume building? Is it interview skills? And so building that in the culture was also a big help. I know that was a lot, sorry, but that was my brain dump on on flexible learning programs and reward and recognition.
Stacy, where did that model come from? The employees want to learn. Where is that from?
Frankly, I made it up.
Okay.
But like it wasn't from a reading or anything like that. I was working with an engagement committee, and I said, hey guys, let's be more insightful and thoughtful than just having fun, right? Your contact center, engagement committees want to throw parties and do fun activities, but we wanted as a team to be more thoughtful and deliberate, and that's where we came up with give was a community aspect, so that we were giving back. What type of outreach were we doing as a community, and then self-development. So that's where we came up with the three.
Yeah, there's some unbelievable research on this topic from the authors of a resource called Prime to Perform. And Rich from CHEP, I know you're out there. You can go get a cup of coffee. I bored him with this for 30 minutes on the way to pickleball last year. But I mean, it's amazing to me exactly what you're talking about, Stacy. We tend to do fun in a peripheral sense instead of connecting it to the work itself. And this is good, exciting work. Like, we're solving a problem. We're helping people that we should really care about with a challenge that matters to us. So that they have this whole model of invoking curiosity. Number one, they call it play, a sense of curiosity and excitement about the work itself. So we want to play at work, but not throwing a ping pong table out there. It's doing something meaningful, like what Stacy's talking about. Then you have potential. I'm becoming the person I want to become as I learn and grow in this work. And I mean, you're never going to leave a job where you're learning and growing in that way. I mean, it goes back to that Daniel Pink quote, pay enough so that compensation is not a distraction. Then you motivate people for the right reasons. And these are the right reasons. So if we can get away from that peripheral play, if we can pay enough to where the compensation isn't a distraction, it leaves us with these four and other wonderful ways that we can really elevate these people and make them love the work that they're doing. And my goodness, customers feel that. When you have those agents that are activated, that are alive, that love their jobs, your customers are going to love you too.
Yeah, it's couldn't agree more. Wilson, you want to come in on this point?
Yeah, I just had to chime in and just say I couldn't agree with both Nate and Stacy on this. When I was running teams, I used to take it as an obligation of my role and responsibility that I help people develop and grow in their own professional lives. And so to me, this was kind of like, as a people manager, this is an obligation of mine. I must find a way, and you do that by building relationships with these individuals. Find a way of guiding someone using what knowledge I have, and guiding them throughout the development. And I think in presenting it that way, that we're investing in the individual, regardless if they go and take another job somewhere else in another department, or God forbid in a different organization. I know that as a people manager, I fulfill that obligation, and I feel strongly
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, no, it's great to hear, and such a refreshing viewpoint really from all three of you on the panel, which is great. I- How do you feel now with the introduction of AI into the contact center is becoming more and more commonplace? How do you feel that will help support these strategies and initiatives of being more people focused and bringing that fun element into their own progression?
Yeah, so again, I just want to emphasize personalized learning. I think is a home run, right? So
Yeah,
with that being said, I think that what we're going to begin to see around the learning of contact center agents is simulated training environment. I think for much of my professional life, whenever I was in the contact center, was always trying to find ways of simulating a real live experience or interaction. And I think AI now gives us the power to do
yeah,
that very effectively, and help the onboarding of our agents and really get them to a place where they feel good about their ability to solve customers' problems. So that
Yeah.
simulated training
Oh, sorry.
environment, I think, is going to be kind of like the next thing. We're starting to see
yeah.
some of that, but AI is really going to, I think, over the course of the next couple of quarters, we'll see some major traction around that.
Yeah, and if I could comment on that and just piggyback, I think as an operator, yeah, I see AI is starting to eliminate those broad paint stroke training events that happen, right? Like we all
Hmm.
need to
Yeah,
work on average
Hmm.
handle time. So here's an average handle time module. Everybody's got to take it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's a lot of time and money wasted.
yeah,
That personalized learning using AI is going to target it on where you really need to spend that time. And now with AI, you can also measure the effectiveness of it. There's just some amazing software out there that says, "Hey, I conducted this training with this cohort of people. What impact did it have?" And that's at your fingertips, and you can make those modifications to your learning content so quickly using that technology. I love it.
There's another. I love that example. There's another one that I've been using quite a bit as we think about the larger digital ecosystem beyond the contact center, beyond customer service. So we're talking about upskilling and motivating agents. What better way to motivate these folks than to help them see the impact that they're having on the lives of our customers? So when we
yeah,
bring an elevated voice of customer capability into the scene here, and we can connect the dots between great customer interactions, specific customer interactions, and customer outcomes and customer impact, that's unbelievably motivating to these agents. And at least for me, 4 or 5 years ago, that was basically impossible to do, to
mm,
close the loop with that entire conversation. But now we can do it, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and my experience over the last like 2 years, just specifically these last 2 years, is that there's like two training approaches that your agents are looking for. One, help me be competent in my job, right? Like how
Yeah.
can I be just like effective and efficient at my job? But then they're looking ahead. What is next? What am I
Mm.
doing next? What's happening in workforce management? What's happening in quality assurance programs? What's happening in data analytics? Like I'm going to school to be a data scientist. How can I get engaged with the contact center to hone those skills and utilize those types of skills? They're really hungry for what's next, and helping them with that training, customized like training path, and then add some of that gamification in there has been a big win on our side.
Love it.
yeah, yeah. No, it's just great to hear such great insight into this area, and it really is refreshing to hear. And you see, thing that I think all three of you are definitely agreeing on is in that AI is going to help accelerate these strategies and not just bring them forward, but actually bring them on in terms of being more focused in on certain areas, as you said, Stacey, and really driving improvements. And as you mentioned, they drive motivation with agents as well by bringing it front and center to their own day to day. which is great to hear. Guys, what we really want to move on to, and I guess the moment that we've all been waiting for, is to hear the predictions of our esteemed panel today. Your predictions for 2025. So as we wrap up, asking you to share your 2025 predictions for customer experience. What major trends, groundbreaking technologies, or innovative strategies do you believe will define the future of customer experience in the year ahead? Now, Dave's going to release a poll as well to our attendees. It'd be great to get your own opinion on this as well. And so, David, if you want to kindly read out and share that poll to
Yeah,
the attendees.
yeah. So not only do we want to hear from the panel, but it'd be great to hear from everyone else. So last poll, hopefully find these useful. So question to the audience. So what will shape the future of contact centers the most by 2025? So is it AI and automation? Is it customer emotion analytics? Is it the hybrid work environments? Or is it upskilling the workforce? So yeah, that's no surprise to see what we're seeing here. So while we let that poll run, so James, you want to hand it over to the panel,
Yeah, of
and we'll get
course.
their take. So I think this is what everyone's waiting on. So looking forward to hearing this.
It really is. The moment that we've all been waiting for is to hear these great predictions for the next year ahead. So, Wilson, if you get us started off, the floor is yours.
Yeah, yeah. Again, as we're seeing this poll live unfold in front of our eyes live, I absolutely agree on the AI and automation. There's one area specifically, and it kind of ties into this whole theme about upskilling and helping our workforce improve and develop. And so I think we're going to see organizations do a better job than we do today in taking all of the knowledge that they've gathered from the customer, from the agent, and the interaction, and really start to ingest that and begin the crafting of knowledge content. Today, a lot of the technology will make recommendations. What I think we'll start to see is that those recommendations will go one step further, and that the AI will begin to draft content for us to use either in training or in self-service options. So I see that that's one of the areas that I'm going to keep a close eye on as it relates to automation and leveraging AI. The other area, again, in the same theme, and I apologize, I'm making reference
No
to two
problem at
points
all,
here.
Wilson.
The other, again, along this theme of enhancing learning of our workforce, is taking two existing technologies and integrating them in a seamless way. And I think VR and the use of AI together to create the simulated environment where we can skill our workforce. I think we're going to start to see some of that kind of come to the forefront in the next several months and quarters. So VR is going to be big. Leveraging VR and AI to create simulated training environments or simulated customer interactions to really
Yeah,
enhance those.
brilliant, brilliant. Well, very exciting predictions there, Wilson. It could definitely be said. Be really exciting to see how they shape up throughout the year. Nate, to invite
Okay.
yourself in on this point, I guess. Do you have anything to expand on what Wilson has said, or would you like to bring forward your own predictions for the year ahead?
I'm gonna burst through with one here. Okay, so I'm gonna go back a little bit before I go forward. The year is 1995. I'm 11 years old. I just found the game of golf, which changed my life. But also, the discipline of market leaders came out. Does anyone remember Michael Tracy and Fred came out with that groundbreaking work? And it was talking about how organizations really have to pick a path between operational excellence and customer intimacy. And as things have unfolded over the past year and a half, I feel like I'm seeing that in a very elevated sense, where organizations are now choosing a very distinctive path on how they are going to relate to their customers. Now, both of these paths are AI driven, but in a very different way. You have your operationally excellent path, extremely efficient, accurate, timely, responsive service, where your self-service channels are incredible. The knowledge curation is incredible. You can engage with this organization at any time, 24/7, and get the answers that you're looking for and get on your path very quickly. It's a little bit more transactional focus. So you'll have many organizations that triple down on that path. You will have many other organizations that forge a very different path, and it will be a community driven path, a relationship driven path, a customer intimacy path, where you'll have customers supporting other customers, and our customer service agents will become facilitators, community facilitators, where they're guiding these interactions and providing guide rails, and they're moderators inside of these community vehicles, where you have this dynamic and exciting conversation taking place that's not just break fix. Like, we've kind of elevated beyond that, right? Now we're getting into an area of co-creation, and that's going to be a path that many of these organizations triple down on, driven by the AI capabilities as well. So it's where do you focus first? Is it going to be that operational excellence, or is it going to be that customer intimacy, and what does that look like for you?
Wow. Well, thank you so much for that, Nathan. It's again, it's interesting in terms of there's so many technological advancements that have been made even since in the time frame you mentioned, over 30 years, quite soon. But in that the principles in which were put forward all that time ago are becoming, as you say, prevalent now in terms of picking a route, operational excellence or customer intimacy, and I guess leveraging AI to, I guess, become fully focused in on one of those areas and drive efficiencies and improvements for the business in that way.
Yep.
It's really interesting. But definitely want to keep an eye on throughout the year, and when we'll refer back to. Stacey, yourself, do you have any views on anything Wilson or Nathan mentioned? Any new predictions from yourself for the year ahead?
No, completely agree with Nate and Wilson. I think those are great. My prediction is way off in left field. Like, I have a way off prediction that you may not have anticipated. So this is a real challenge that I'm having today that I see AI is going to solve for me in the near future, just because of the advancements that are happening in this space. So right now, IDME is a US only based organization. Right now, we have a large scale government clients, and citizens need access to government agencies like unemployment, SSA, Social Security Administration for those that are abroad, our veteran affairs, like, they need access to this. And language sometimes is an access barrier to some of these services that need to be available to our citizens. And I just saw a statistic just this week that 16% of US citizens are immigrants, right? And so there is a language barrier that I think is always out there and growing as we become more global community in general. And we typically solve it by throwing bodies at it, right? You need a contact center that supports 11 different languages if you're going to get a government contract, right? And that's expensive. That's just hard to manage. I'm looking at the languages that are coming through my organization today. Spanish is number one, but Russian and Haitian are number 2 and number 3, right? Like, I'd have to staff contact centers for that. And then couple with data privacy. So data privacy, when you think about it internationally, for some of these organizations, your data cannot cross countries, right? And so you need in-country support in some of your contact centers. How do you support all these languages if I can't put a contact center in Russia, for example, and I have a Russian language requirement? I think AI is going to solve that. I think AI and the ability for real-time translation of languages, where you speak in one language, I hear it in English, and I speak in English and you hear it back in your language, real time, is going to be a game changer. That's my prediction.
Definitely left field, Stacey.
Drop the
But
mic. That's my prediction.
I love it.
yeah, I really do. And it refers back to, you mentioned earlier, Nate, in terms of how 5 years ago, a lot of the items that we've discussed today seemed impossible and seemed unreachable. And what you described, Stacey, nearly sounds like something we would have seen in an old sci-fi film, but it's now becoming something that is a realistic aim for even the year ahead, as short term as that. So it's great to hear such thought-provoking predictions that all three of you have provided. And before we wrap up, we do want to leave some time to cover off some questions that have come through from our valued audience today. Does anyone have any closing thoughts on the predictions that you three have put forward today?
So I can read out some questions. I think we have one question posted, James. And again, if anyone has any thoughts on that, you can use the chat function. So we do have a question from Brian Leslie, to be precise. So Brian is asking, how do you think staffing a recruitment firm can better support our sales clients to achieve their goals with the ideas you shared today? Is it through better screening, better training, or something else to make them a better partner?
Yeah, I love this question. I'll jump in on that if I could, Brian.
Yeah.
I'm a huge advocate of hiring people into the organization that already resonate with the brand promise. It's so hard to motivate people just doing a job. So if you take somebody that cares about the unique nature of the organization in terms of the promise they're fulfilling to their customers, and you take somebody that cares about defending the integrity of that promise, you're already 95% there. And then it's just a matter of giving them the knowledge and the skills. But I mean, if we don't have that other piece, it's just not going to happen.
Great. Thanks, Nate. So I know Dara Kiernan. Hey, Dara, how are you doing? So Dara is from KPA Consulting. So he's agreed with one of the earlier comments. And he says, by the way, hey, Nate, great to hear from you. He's a big fan of yours. So thanks, Dara.
And hey, Dara, good to hear from you. Great to see you.
Hey, Dara, good to great to see you.
So just to wrap up, because I know we're just, I don't want to take into anyone's time. We've scheduled an hour for this. So again, just to thank everyone for joining. Apologies about that the cameras again. It's outside of our control. I know what happened in our last webinar as well. So I'll be right on to the support team in GoToWebinar. But I just want to thank Stacey, thank Nate, thank Wilson for your time today. Great predictions, and I'm sure we'll summarize that and get the content out there. Thanks to everyone for joining today. The webinar has been recorded, so it's available. And thanks to James for taking us through today and managing that conversation. So I'll leave it over to the panel if they have any final thoughts just to leave everyone with today before we close out. Nate, Wilson, or Stacey, any final comments?
Nothing from me except thank you for putting this together, David, and James for facilitating and moderating the discussion. It was fantastic.
Excellent. Great. Thank you, Wilson.
I would just throw out, I mean, don't buy into any hype that customer experience and customer service roles are being devalued.
Yes.
It's changing. The work is changing, and we know that. But I firmly believe, and I am seeing, the work that you are doing is more important now than it has ever been. And you have an opportunity to guide your organization into this evolution that is taking place around what customer experience is going to look like for the next infinite amount of time. Embrace that, take joy in that, but know that your work is more important now than it's ever been.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
I'll double down on that for parting words. I remember way back 20 plus years ago, contact center job, I was at the phone company telling people on the phone to replace their caller ID battery, right? Like that was customer service. Did you replace your battery? And now we're in these complex discussions around multi-factor authentication, right? Like it's just changing and evolving. That upskilling we didn't touch on it, but very important that these are just going to be more complex as we become more digitally ingrained into security, biometrics, like all of that is just going to change the type of customer service that we're going to have to provide.
Excellent. That's great.
Yeah.
Nice way to leave us. So again, thanks to everyone. Thanks to the panel. Thanks to James. Thanks to everyone. Have a great day. There's a quick survey as you leave, and hopefully everyone has a great holidays, Christmas, as we say over here. And looking forward to connecting again, if not towards the end of this year, but definitely as we run more webinars into 2025. Hard to believe we're saying that already. But yeah, have a great one, and look forward to talking to everyone again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.